Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
I'm having trouble trying to sleep. I'm counting sheep but running out. As time ticks by, still I try. No rest for cross-tops in my mind. On my own, here we go. My eyes feel like they're gonna bleed. Right up and bulging out my skull.
Ahoy, fellow commanders! It is Muse, and we are here today to talk about the Dakir. What the hell is a Dakir, you might ask? Well, let me tell you what a Dakir is. It is a Tier 6 variant of the Tier 6 German battleship Gneisenau, but it is French flagged, and it is more secondary focused than Gneisenau. It gets slightly longer range torps than Gneisenau gets. Overall, it's a very fun ship. There was 2 ships released with the Star Trek collaboration. One was the Bortus Tier 6 cruiser, and the other was Dakir, Tier 6 battleship. Dakir, for most intents and purposes, plays very much like Gneisenau. Same size main guns. Secondaries aren't going to add a whole lot to. They're very small secondaries, but they're like the typical French secondaries. They're very fast firing. So definitely a deterrent for DDs, things like that. But don't expect like a ton of damage. It's not going to be like Schroeder secondaries to where you're just melting things. Mostly good for fires. Torps get slightly longer range, get about 1.5 kilometers more range. This thing, so what makes Bortus incredibly good is the survivability on Bortus. Bortus can be an absolute animal. This thing doesn't have quite that survivability, but with the French commanders rather than the German commanders, you can actually stack a lot more heals on this thing. So like mine, the build I have, it has 5 heals on it, which normally with the German commanders, if you even get access to the extra heals, you have to give up properly meticulous. Whereas with the French commanders, that's not a thing. And then there's multiple variations of what you can do with the French commanders. You can do reload builds, you can do secondary builds. If you're using Spock, you could even do a secondary tanking build. So different options than what you would have for Gneisenau with the German commanders. In a 5v5 or a 3v3, like a ranked arcade mode, this thing is nasty. And we're going to show off, in the gameplay, we're going to show off the nastiness of it. But let's go ahead and take a look at the parts and pieces. All right, for the mods real quick, in the first slot we have secondary mod 2. That is because we want to be secondary focused. Second slot, we're looking at steering gears mod 2. Third slot, we're running concealment system mod 1. All right, for consumables, pretty standard damage control party. Get a heal that's about 300 HP for 28 seconds, reloads every about 75 seconds. Gonna get the enhanced secondaries, pretty standard secondary build, so yeah, we want that over the fighters. And other deal, the big bread and butter is this is the only French BB that gets sonar, and it's that sweet, sweet German sonar. So yeah, we love that. 5-4 sonar on a French battleship. Imagine that. But yes, that's a beautiful addition right there. Then we're going to go into the stats. So survivability, we got 54,000 HP. If you're running a reload build, you're going to have slightly less than that. Guns, we have 3x2 380 millimeter guns. We don't have very much range. Our range is actually reduced because we are running a little bit of reload on the guns. Secondaries, you're going to have 2,228 millimeters, and they reload in 2.9 seconds. So again, not super hard hitting, but very fast reloading, typical kind of French thing. Firing range is going to be 8.7 on those. Torps, you're going to have 6 533 millimeters. They go out to 7.5 with a 67 knot speed and reload every 60 seconds. So not too shabby on those torps. Kind of surprising is what comes next is this thing actually does have some AA. You're going to have an 82 rating, and that is without leaning into the AA at all. That's the natural AA rating right there. Maneuverability, we're going to have 33 knots of speed and an 11-second rudder with 830 meter turning circle. So it can wiggle and waggle and do the things pretty good like that. And then for concealment, there's not going to be anything special here. 12.6 by sea, 18.1 after firing the guns, and 13.4 in smoke. Now, for armor, I already stated this thing is not the Bortus. Bortus is an absolute mini tank. This thing is not too bad, though. It's very capable of tanking. You can see you got a really lovely belt right there. It gets the turtleback armor on the Citadel, which is greatly helpful when you're in close quarters there, doing the brawly thing. And it also has a good amount of armor on the top of the Citadel, which means, like, when you're coming in, pushing in for that brawl situation, you're not going to take as many, like, Citadels off the plunging fire as you would with something where the top of the Citadel isn't too armored up. So, yeah, it's got some survivability. All right, into the commander build. So underneath, you can see I have Michael Latier. I'm going to give you some other options here in a second. As far as if you don't have Michael Latier, I prefer Michael Latier because he gives you extra secondary damage for the base trait. You can see it right there. And then we are going to take a look in the first skill slot. We're running Brawler, get that faster reload on our main guns. It does reduce our range, but is what it is. Porcupine for the range on the secondaries and the dispersion. Properly Meticulous in the third slot, which is normally fourth, and that's going to be for reload and survivability. Master Mechanic, extra heals. Fight fire with fire because, you know, HE spammers. And then we have Hipper over there for an inspiration for range, and Haruna for the dispersion. So let's take a look at some of the other commanders you could possibly run on here. We're going to narrow this down to battleships. So you have A.L. Dunkirk. I use her as a reload commander. You can also use her for accuracy. She does give you the fast shell switch. You have Spock, which is a good tanking secondary commander. Very good if you want to tank while having secondaries. Then we have Jujard is under Alice Thompson. That's going to be kind of your accuracy, gives you extra pen on the main guns, so main gun focus. Now we have Emile Jupré. That's going to be your vanilla, if you don't have Michael Latier, secondary commander for a secondary build. So you can kind of throw whatever you want on there. You can run a bunch of different options. You can go reload, main guns, secondaries, survivability. All right, then we have our featured battle, which you saw in the opening montage, some bits and pieces of it. We're going to be on Neighbors. It is a capture the base. We are over here on the left flank. So with Neighbors, when you get that right flank over there, it's got all those lovely islands for cover, concealment. That tends to be the better spawn on this map. Being it's the better spawn, a lot of times your mid is going to go over to that side. It's just people are drawn to islands. They see the islands over there. They leave you. And what can happen a lot on this map is when you are on this left flank and you go to the left, if their mid does not go to those islands and instead comes your way, you end up in this isolated 6-on-3 on the left side. So that's something to be aware of. Another thing to be aware of with this left spawn is if a DD comes screaming down that middle anywhere from any of the three spawns, you are going to be spotted fairly immediately. And because you're making this turnout to get over to that left side, you're going to be broadside to everything. So you want to be very cognizant of you may have shells coming your way the moment you're spotted. Like there's people just thirsty for something to shoot at. So you kind of want to be ready to defend yourself, make a move to not be broadside to all three of their spawns upon being spotted. It's a tricky tricky little deal to get over to this left side. I've seen a lot of people get deleted trying to push over to this island because they're just broadside to 3 different spawns right at the start of the game. So then once we get over to this side, we take a little shot, get a fire on the Missouri. RNG's is you know, favoring us today. We can see the DD in the mid there. So I'm a brawler. I want to get in close, but I have this big gap between these 2 islands here. This is a high-risk play. If you push out past this island and go through that gap, you're exposing yourself to torps from the mid. You're exposing yourself to crossfires from their mid spawn, their far spawn there. So this is a very high-risk play to make right here. But if you can get past this gap and get down to that next island, and you have some kind of support behind you back here at this island, you have a position that is really dug in. And the only thing they can really do is come around and get torps on you. Really, really nice position to get into. So we're going to go for it here. We do see the DD out there to our right. He's just outside his torp range, so he could have sent torps previously. He could come in and send torps. He's getting close to his torp range right now. So we want to get through this gap as fast as possible, get down to this next island. We can see their DD. He's disengaging. He's going to end up coming around this corner trying to torp me here in a second. We've got support behind us. So Missouri's backing up because he doesn't like being hit by me and the 2 guys behind me. He is already not in a healthy way right there. We can see we got another battleship coming around behind him. And that DD has disappeared, so we don't know where he's at the moment. But hey, guess what we just got on our sonar? Look at that. So Kid's going to come around here, try to get torps on me. We already have the HE loaded. With these smaller guns, I tend to run the HE a lot more than the AP. There's certain situations where the AP is going to pay off, but for the most part, especially with those fast-firing secondaries, I can get a lot more out of the HE usually. So he sends his torps. Now, had we stayed full throttle, we may have been able to go around these, but it would have put me out in front of 2 bow-in battleships broadside. So we're just going to eat the torp. And then we're going to turn down in here. And we're going to try to get a torp run on both these guys, which is pretty risky, but I had the position. I'm in a brawling battleship. Like, let's go for it. So we get the torps off on the Yukon. There's not much he can do about that. And I don't know if I have the arming range for this Missouri. I'm hoping I do. We send him. Bow. Get out of here. We like that. We like that. Now, I'm going to be able to go dark if I don't fire my main guns here because of the smoke until I pop out the other side of the smoke. So I'm not as healthy as these 2 battleships behind me. We're going to take that option, let them deal with that Yukon. But as soon as I pop out the other side, we have a nice now that spots us from out there. So it didn't really matter. But we're now in secondary range for the nice now. Yukon gets finished off. See a DD in the mid. Anytime we see DDs, we shoot at them. We don't care what the range is. DDs need to go. We don't like DDs. If you know me, if you know this channel, that is what we do. We are the enemy of DDs. Then we have this nice now back here. So I'm going to send some torps for him. I'm going to have my reload back up on the right side in not too long. So we send these left ones right on track for where he's going. If he doesn't turn, he's going to eat them, which he's not going to do. So he's going to eat them. And then we start bringing our ship around to where if we need to, we can bring these right side torpedoes into play. Got our secondaries going. We're hitting him with main guns, but it's not going to matter because he made no evasive maneuvers. And he's going to eat all 3 of those. Pow. Dunsky. Then we got Belfast out of there, but because I have that short main gun range, I'm able to go dark as soon as Nice Now's dead. Sitting on 108,000 damage already. Lovely, lovely. Led the push down this left side. You can see the 2 battleships now coming behind me. I'm going to push for their cap. That should sucker the DD in. That should sucker any remaining ships they have left into their cap. And that is what I feel like the play is. So yeah, we're going to go push this cap back here. I'm still unspotted, so we're just going to stay ghost here for a moment. I know we've got a Nebraska over there, we've got a Belfast over there, and we've got a DD running around somewhere back here. The other battleship is way out of play for me. I'm not too worried about him. He's on that far, far right flank at the back of the map. So he's not a concern of mine. My concern is this is basically the 3 ships I'm concerned with are the DD, the Belfast, and the Nebraska. So Belfast is still just chilling in a smoke over there. I think he might have left it. He ends up turning up down by our cap, I believe. But I am going to get this Nebraska pop out on me. Able to take advantage of some of that healing. Get some HP back. Yeah, there goes Belfast. He's going to head down towards our cap there. Right about here is when Nebraska's going to pop up. I'm in their cap, so we're stopping their points. And these other 2 battleships, I'm going to leave it to them to cap. And I'm just going to continue to push through the map. So we're going to end up pushing the Nebraska. And then we're going to end up running into the DD right behind the Nebraska. Which is absolutely lovely. So here we begin the engagement with the Nebraska. Again, I'm a brawler ship, so I want to close this distance. So I'm just going to tank as best as I can while pushing closing that gap down. I want to get him in secondary range. I want to get him in torp range. In a close-in fight, I have the advantage over this guy. And that's what I want to do. So we're going to use that belt. One thing with the French battleship, because I don't take the survivability on the main guns, if you've noticed during this match, I've had my guns knocked almost every time somebody shoots at me, and there it is again. So even though it's a nice now, it is that typical French, if anybody even looks at your guns, they get knocked out. So that is something to be aware of. If you are going to build into a main gun build, you are going to need that survivability mod on there. Because, yeah, my guns have been literally knocked out almost every time somebody's fired at me this match. The amount of times my guns got knocked were pretty ridiculous. We hit the high cal right there. You can see the secondaries doing their thing. Stay in HE. AP against the battleships, it doesn't do a whole lot. Especially if you're dealing with somebody that knows how to troll and knows how to tank. They're just going to make you keep wasting salvos. So in combination with those secondaries, I just go with HE primarily. There you see we get a nice little torp run on him. Nothing he can do about it. Kapow. Goodbye, Nebraska. Now I'm staying spotted. I fired my gun, so it could potentially be the Belfast holding spot on me. But again, I have that very, very short range, and he's pretty far back there. So more than likely, it's not the Belfast holding spot on me. So what could be holding spot on me, ladies and gentlemen? What do you think it might be? I'm waiting for the spot to drop. It does not drop. So at this point, I'm going to let my teammates know. You can see it over on the left side here. I'm going to ping, hey, I'm spotted. There's something here. There's a friend here. We're going to turn towards the likely position this thing would be in. We're going to get our sonar running, and he goes up and opens his guns. Well, that was a mistake, my friend. That was a mistake. Because now you are in deep pooey. We already know it's a Jaeger. We know there's torps coming. So we got the sonar running. We're going to get ready to make the dodge. And there they are in all their glory. Now we see a big gap over there on the left side. We're going to try and scream into that gap. That's a risky because we could eat a lot of torps trying to do that. Make the dodge. Look at the moves. Ankle breaking. Pretty fantastic. And that's going to leave just the Belfast, and that's going to conclude the game. That's all I have for you. I will catch you next time. Good hunting, fair seas, captains. Take care. Bye.